This video, I will cover 3 different finger multiplication tricks. One trick is to multiply two numbers between 6 and 9. The second trick is to multiply two numbers between 11 and 15. And the third trick will be to remember the times table of 9. Let's get started with the first trick to multiply two numbers between 6 and 9. I will illustrate the techniques with two hands where the palms are facing down. Let's label each finger. Let's label the thumb on the left hand as 6. Let's keep increasing until we get to the pinky finger. So the index finger is 7, the middle finger is 8, the ring finger is 9, and the pinky finger is 10. Label the right hand in exactly the same way. So the thumb will be 6, and you increase until you get to the pinky, which will be the number 10. Now let's say we want to do 7 times 8. The first number is 7, and this will correspond to the 7 on the left hand. The other number is 8, and this will correspond to 8 on the right hand. So let's focus on the index finger of the left hand and the middle finger of the right hand. Now move the hands together until these two fingers are joining and touching. So let's consider the number of fingers that are joining and touching and are shown to be below these two fingers. Let's go ahead and count them. Starting with the left hand, we have 1, 2, and we'll continue counting to the right hand. So we have 3, 4, and 5. So we have a total of 5 fingers that are touching and below the touching fingers. So this will be 5, and that will be part of the answer. Now let's count the remaining fingers that are above these touching fingers. On the left hand, we will have 1, 2, and 3 fingers. And on the right hand, we will have a total of 2 fingers. So we take 3 and we multiply it by 2 to give 6. We then write 6 next to the 5, and we have our answer. 7 times 8 is equal to 56. The first time I saw this, I was completely blown away. What kind of black magic is this? I will explain why this trick works a little bit later, but for now, let's do another example to understand the technique. So let's go ahead and reset the hands, and let's do another problem. Let's do 7 times 9. The first number is 7, which will correspond to the index finger of the left hand. The second number is 9, and this will correspond to the ring finger on the right hand. So let's go ahead and focus on these fingers and join them. We now need to count the fingers that are touching and below the touching fingers. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 fingers that are touching and below. So the 6 will become the first part of the answer. Then let's count the number of fingers on each hand that we have not counted yet. On the left hand, we have 1, 2, and 3. On the right hand, we just have 1. So then we have 3 times 1, which equals 3, and that gives us 7 times 9 is equal to 63. Wow! Let's go ahead and reset the hands and do another example. Let's go ahead and do 8 times 8. So we have 8, which is the middle finger on the left hand, and 8, which is the middle finger on the right hand. Let's go ahead and join these fingers and count all the fingers that are touching and below the touching fingers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this will be 6, which is the first part of the answer. We then have 2 on the left hand that's above the touching fingers, and we have 2 on the right hand that's above. 2 times 2 is equal to 4, and that's the second part of the answer. So 8 times 8 is equal to 64. Wow! Now let's reset the hands and do one more example just for mastery. Let's go ahead and do 6 times 9. So 6 is the thumb on the left hand, and 9 is the ring finger on the right hand. So we go ahead and we connect these two fingers. We count the number of fingers that are touching and below, and this will be a total of 5 fingers. Now, instead of just putting 5 in the answer, let's imagine we're taking 5 and multiplying it by 10, so we have 50. So 6 times 9 will be equal to 50. Now let's count the remaining fingers. On the left hand, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be 4 here. And we have 1 on the right hand. So we have 4 times 1, and that's equal to 4. So we add this in the answer. So 6 times 9 is equal to 50 plus 4. And that gives us the result of 54. Now let's use this modified technique to solve one more problem. So let's say we want to do 6 times 7. 6 will be the thumb on the left hand, and 7 will be the index finger on the right hand. Let's go ahead and connect these two fingers. So let's count the number of fingers that are touching and below. We have 1, 2, and 3. So we have 3 fingers, which we know represents 3 times 10, which equals 30. So we start out that 6 times 7 is equal to 30. Now we need to count the remaining fingers and add that. So on the left hand, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this will be 4. On the right hand, we have 1, 2, and 3. So we have 4 times 3 is equal to 12. So all we need to do is add 12. 30 plus 12 is equal to 42. And that's the answer. So now let's reset the hands and do another example that involves this type of carryover of addition. Let's do 6 times 6. We have 6, which is a thumb on the left hand, and 6, which is a thumb on the right hand. So let's connect these two fingers. Now if we count the fingers that are touching, that's just 2 fingers. We're going to take 2 and multiply it by 10, so we get 20. So we start out that 6 times 6 is equal to 20. Let's count the remaining fingers. On the left hand, we have a total of 4 fingers, and we also have a total of 4 fingers on the right hand. So we have 4 times 4 is equal to 16. So we add that to 20, and we get the result of 36. So 6 times 6 is equal to 36. So this trick is a magical way to multiply numbers between 6 and 9. But the question is, why does this work? So to start out, let me go through a little bit of algebra. Let's say we want to do 7 times 8. We can rewrite these as differences from 10. So 7 is equal to 10 minus 3, and 8 is equal to 10 minus 2. So 7 times 8 is equivalent to 10 minus 3 multiplied by the quantity 10 minus 2. So let's go ahead and expand this product. We have 10 times 10, then we have negative 3 times 10, then we have negative 2 times 10, and finally we have negative 3 times negative 2, which will be plus 3 times 2. From these first 3 terms, we can factor 10. So this will work out to be 10 multiplied by 10 minus 3 minus 2. We go ahead and add 3 times 2. Finally, we can group the subtraction. So we have 10 minus the sum of 3 and 2. We multiply this entire thing by 10, and then we add the product of 3 and 2. Now let's do this calculation in the abstract. Let's say we want the product of 10 minus a and 10 minus b. So we go ahead and expand this. We have 10 times 10, we have minus a times 10, we have minus b times 10, and we have negative a times negative b, which will be plus a times b. So from these first 3 terms, let's go ahead and factor a 10. So we have 10 multiplied by 10 minus a minus b, plus the product of a and b. We can group the subtraction. So we have 10 minus the sum of a and b. All of this is multiplied by 10, plus the product of a and b. So now let's focus on the first line and the last line. This is exactly the calculation we will be doing with finger multiplication. So let's go ahead and pull up the hands and their labeling and see how this corresponds. So let's do a specific example. Let's say we take a to be equal to 3. 10 minus 3 is equal to 7, which is the index finger on the left hand. Let's take b is equal to 2. 10 minus 2 is equal to 8, so we will take 8 on the right hand. So let's go ahead and focus on these fingers and join them together. The first step is to count all of the fingers that are touching and below. So on the left hand, we have 2 fingers. But we know that A is equal to 3. We have 5 fingers on the left hand. So this exactly corresponds to 5 minus 3. On the right hand, we are counting 3 fingers. Here we have B is equal to 2. We have 5 fingers on the right hand. So this will be 5 minus 2. The step here is to add these together and multiply that by 10. So we need to take 5 minus 3 plus 5 minus 2 and multiply the entire thing by 10. When you simplify this, it can also be rewritten in the form 10 multiplied by 10 minus the sum of 3 and 2. And look at this result. It is exactly the result we want in the final calculation. So that's why this part actually counts the correct value. Now let's take a look at the remaining process. On the left hand, we are counting the fingers that are not touching. So here we have exactly 3 fingers. This corresponds to A is equal to 3. And on the right hand, we will have a total of 2 fingers, and this is corresponding to B is equal to 2. So we take the product of these two numbers, and this will be A multiplied by B, and this exactly corresponds to adding A times B. And that's why this trick works. If you're confused by any of this explanation, don't worry. The mechanics are a little bit tricky to understand. But once I wrap my head around it, it helped me understand the very next trick, which is a modification of this technique. So now, let's learn the finger multiplication trick to multiply two numbers from 11 to 15. We start out with our 2 hands with the palms facing down. Starting on the left hand, label the thumb as 11, the index finger is 12, the middle finger is 13, the ring finger is 14, and the pinky finger is 15. Have the same numbering on the right hand, where we go from 11 to 15, from thumb to pinky finger. Let's do the example of 12 times 13. The first number is 12, which will correspond to the index finger on the left hand, and the second number is 13, which corresponds to the middle finger on the right hand. So let's go ahead and connect these 2 fingers. Now in this particular trick, all we need to do is focus on the fingers that are touching and below. We don't need to worry about the other fingers. So on the left hand, we have 2 fingers, and on the right hand, we have 3 fingers. This will be a total of 5 fingers. All we're going to do is add 10 to this total, so we get 15. This 15 is the first part of the answer. We then take the 2 fingers we've counted on the bottom left and the 3 fingers we've counted on the bottom right. We take the product of these and we get 6. And this will be the next part of the answer. And that's it. 12 times 13 is equal to 156. Wow. Now let's reset the fingers and go ahead and do another example. Let's do 12 times 14. 12 will correspond to the index finger on the left hand, and 14 is the ring finger on the right hand. Let's go ahead and connect the fingers. So all we need to do is count the fingers that are touching and below. On the left hand, we have 2, and on the right hand, we have 4. This is a total of 6 fingers. We will add 10, and this will give us 16. 16 is the first part of the answer. We then take the 2 on the left hand and 4 on the right hand, and their product will be 2 times 4, which equals 8. That's the next part of the answer, and 12 times 14 is equal to 168. Wow! Now let's go ahead and reset the fingers and do one more example. There might be carryover in some of these calculations, so you might need to modify the process slightly. Let's do 13 times 14. 13 will be the middle finger on the left hand, and 14 will be the ring finger on the right hand. So let's go ahead and join these 2 fingers. So let's count the fingers that are touching and below. On the left hand, we will have 3, and on the right hand, we will have 4. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. Let's go ahead and add 10 to that, which will be 17. And then we will multiply this by 10, which will be equal to 170. So the first part of the answer is 170. Now we have 3 fingers on the left hand and we have 4 fingers on the right hand. The product of 3 and 4 is equal to 12. So we add 12 to this result, and 170 plus 12 is equal to 182. So that's how you do an example which has carryover, but this technique will always work for numbers between 11 and 15. So now let me give a brief justification of why this technique works. Suppose we are doing the calculation of 12 times 13. So 12 will be the index finger on the left hand, and 13 will be the middle finger on the right hand. Now 12 times 13 can also be rewritten as 10 plus a multiplied by 10 plus b, where a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 3. So let's work with this algebraic form of the exercise. So let's go ahead and connect the fingers, and let's consider the algebra as well. So we can write the algebraic product as 10 multiplied by 10 plus the sum of a and b plus the product of a and b. And this is exactly what we will be doing with the finger multiplication. When we consider the fingers that are touching and below, we are counting a fingers on the left hand, and we will be counting a total of b fingers on the right hand. So one step will be to take the sum of a and b, then we add 10, and then we multiply by 10. So this will exactly work out to be the first part of the result. We then want the product of a and b, and this will exactly be the second part of the finger multiplication process. And that's why the sum exactly works out when we do the finger multiplication to correspond to the arithmetic exercise. Now let me conclude with a final trick of remembering the times table for 9. So start out with your 2 hands, palms facing down. Let's say you want to do 9 times 2. Since we are multiplying by 2, count 2 fingers from the left hand. So we count 1 and 2. Now go ahead and bend the second finger. We will divide up the hands into the fingers that are to the left of the bent finger and the fingers that are to the right of the bent finger. How many fingers are there to the left of the bent finger? There is exactly 1 finger. So this will be the first part of the answer. Now, how many fingers are there to the right of the bent finger? There'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this will be the second part of the answer. So we have 9 times 2 is equal to 18. Let's do another example. Let's do 9 times 3. Since we're multiplying by 3, we count over 3 fingers. Bend this third finger. How many fingers are to the left of the bent finger? There will be exactly 2 fingers that are to the left. How many fingers are there to the right of the bent finger? We go ahead and count them, and this will be a total of 7 fingers. So 9 times 3 is equal to 27. Let's do a final example. Let's do 9 times 8. We want to count 8 fingers from the left. So we count the 5 fingers that are on the left hand, and we continue counting 6, 7, and 8. We go ahead and bend the middle finger on the right hand. How many fingers are there to the left of the bent finger? This will be 7 fingers. How many fingers are there to the right? There will be exactly 2 fingers. So we have 7 and 2, and the correct answer is 9 times 8 is equal to 72. So now let me briefly justify why this trick works. So let's say we are doing 9 times a. We can rewrite this in the form 10 multiplied by a minus 1 plus 10 minus a. You can go ahead and expand the right-hand side and simplify to see that both sides are equal to 9a. But the form on the right-hand side will correspond to the finger multiplication trick. So let's say we take a is equal to 8. So we count out a total of 8 fingers. Now we bend this eighth finger, so we are subtracting 1. So the number of fingers that are to the left of the bent finger will always be equal to a minus 1. We then need to multiply this by 10, and this 10 multiplied by a minus 1 will give us the first part of the answer. Now, how many fingers are there to the right of the bent finger? We have counted out a fingers. There are a total of 10 fingers between the two hands, so this will always be equal to 10 minus a, and we go ahead and add this to our answer. And that's why this trick will always help you remember the times table for 9. Who knew that your fingers were secretly one of the world's most powerful computers?